Hello, everybody. Welcome to Troop Talk Live. It is so good to be with you here today. My name is Aaron. The most important person on the show today, though, is the guest next to me. His name is Scott. Scott is one of our very valued volunteers. He's proven himself adept and worthy of serving on the Conservation Ethics, Outdoor Ethics Committee. And you know how it is in scouting, when you prove that you're good at something, you just get asked to do more stuff. And so Scott has graciously agreed to be the national chair of something called Scouting for Clean Waterways. Scott, how are you today?
Oh, I'm well. It's great to be here.
It is great to have you on. Scott and I appeared on one of our different shows a few weeks ago talking about Scouting for Clean Waterways. We're going to talk about it again with a focus on the Scouts BSA aspect of the program, how Scouts BSA troops can take advantage of it, what it means, how it works, all that good stuff like that, everything you need to know about Scouting for Clean Waterways related to Scouts BSA. We're going to talk about over the next 30 minutes. Feel free to comment with questions if you've participated in a Scouting for Clean Waterways program, which I think a lot of troops have. Let us know how it went. As we get started with our conversation, though, Scott, give us a broad overview. What is Scouting for Clean Waterways?
I will. And if you will go ahead and share my slides, I've got a little presentation that we'll work through, and you can hit the next slide. So Scouting for Clean Waterways, it's a nationwide initiative empowering scouts to combat waterway and marine debris. So Scouting America, and if you'll step on the next slide, along with its partners. So it's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, the Goal Clean Seas, Clean Hub, and the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation all aim to protect our ocean, lakes, and rivers from plastic pollution and human-made materials, and to promote environmental stewardship. Now, next slide. One important note here is a term empowering our scouts, because it was scouts who were first participating in a National Scout Forum and reported to the National Executive Board that they wanted Scouting America to take a more active role in preserving our planet. Scouting for Clean Waterways was then born. It was already a program being used at Seabase, and Seabase suggested we make this a national yearly service initiative, just like the very successful Scouting for Food. So let me tell you a little bit more about the problem and why we're doing this. Next slide. Waterway and marine debris, sometimes called aquatic trash, presents a substantial threat to the well-being of our interconnected ecosystems. It is a global crisis, next slide, causing environmental harm, a negative economic impact, and risk to human health. The amount of microplastics in our water supplies is continually increasing. A study recently published in Nature Medicine found that human brains contain high levels of microplastics. The study, which was led by Matthew Campen at the University of New Mexico, examined brain tissue samples from 2016 to 2024, and it revealed a 50% increase in the amount of microplastic concentrations in our brains over that period. And that is alarming. Scientists are actively trying to learn now what those potential effects to human health will be because of those microplastics. So where does this micro trash come from, or this aquatic trash come from? Next slide. Well, it often comes from dry lands, miles away from our water resources. Land-based sources account for 80% of marine debris, and approximately 85% of that is plastic. So next slide. To easily understand the initiative, it is a yearly nationwide cleanup of our waterways and our natural resources. It creates positive community impact, the opportunity for environmental education, and you can end that there.
Yeah, very good, Scott. Shout out to Lisa says they just completed their project for Scouting for Clean Waterways. They combined with their city's Earth Day cleanup. Very cool, Lisa. We're going to talk about that. Partnering. This is a great opportunity to partner with organizations in your community. Scott mentioned some of our valuable corporate partners, organizations that share the same vision that we do. You know, conservation has been part of Scouting America for hundreds of years, literally since the beginning, and marine waste is a problem. You just heard Scott say the idea of microplastics in our brains. It doesn't sound great. This is a way that we can combat that problem. So this is a very important movement, and we should all be very proud to be part of this movement. Scott, let's talk about how this relates to Scouts BSA troops and families. How can Scouts BSA troop participate in this project? This isn't really a requirement per se, but tell us about that.
Well, first, it's not a requirement, that Scouts or Scout BSA units participate. But I think we can easily see how 1 million Scouts could make a significant difference if everyone did participate. So it's also not an award that can be earned. It's simply a nationally focused service initiative. So let's look at how Scouts and Scout units can participate. On the Scouting for Clean Waterways webpage on scouting.org, there's a complete how-to guide. And if you'll share the slides again. And on the webpage, you can find under the Scouts section, and there's a section for Cub Scouts, there's a section for Scouts BSA, Venturing, and Sea Scouts. There's a complete how-to guide. There's also links to a quick guide and also links to a fast start page. So whatever level of information you're looking for, you can find it there. But it's really quite simple. Next slide. All we need to do is just plan. Choose a date and a location for a cleanup activity, or join an event that's being planned by one of the many organizations that are protecting our waterways or our natural resources. We're going to prepare. Simply gather the supplies and organize the leadership. Execute, conduct the cleanup, and properly dispose of the collected trash. That's a key element here. And then lastly, report and share. You're going to record your results in Scout Book, share your story with local and social media, and also with Clean Water Scouts at scouting.org. We've got a little information there, link. We have a Facebook group, all of which are hoping that you'll share your stories with us, and we can share them with the Scouts BSA public around the country. So the Scout Book team has created a way to enter the needed information so that all the information will be recorded and shared. And then lastly, of course, there is a patch. And if you'll step on the next one, there is a patch, and that can be found. If you go to the webpage for scouting.org, you'll see the link to that. But the link is also published here. There's also other identity items. And next slide. You'll see that there's T-shirts, there's hats, there's tote bags. All of these are printed as on demand and are available to you if you're looking to help promote your activity. Now, the patch, again, is something anybody can wear to support the program. It's not an award. It doesn't require any specific amount of time or poundage of debris collected. If you want to support Scouting for Clean Waterways and wear the patch, you're welcome to do so. And you can end that there.
Yeah, that's great. The initiative that I've heard this compared to the most, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, is Scouting for Food. Right. Just an annual tradition that Scouts of all ages do. Scouting for Clean Waterways is the same kind of thing. We mentioned in the comments, Lisa said that they partnered with their city's Earth Day. It's a great opportunity to partner with other members of the community. Wearing those T-shirts around, it's a great way to get people to ask questions. Hey, what's on that shirt? And it's an opportunity to explain to them what it is that you do with Scouting for Clean Waterways. So very, very cool. Most importantly, of course, there is a patch. It's not a rank earned or an award, like you said. It's a patch that you can wear just to show your support of the program. Let's talk about the different types of activities, Scott, that would count as a Scouting for Clean Waterways project. With the word water in it, you might think it has to be at a beach or a lake or something like that. Talk about the different type of activities that Scouts can participate in.
Well, every time a Scout or a Scouting unit participates in an activity that results in the removal of trash or debris, it could be called the Scouting for Clean Waterway activity. Now, this could be a planned cleanup where on this Saturday morning, we're all going to meet at 8 o'clock at something pavilion in this park and do a cleanup. Or it could be something you do on a regular planned scouting outing. So you're going camping for the weekend at such and such state park. We're going to dedicate 2 hours of time to do a cleanup. And we are going to comb a trail, or we're going to walk around a lake, or walk around the whole camping area and see how much debris we can remove. Because again, it doesn't have to be on the waterway. 80% of all aquatic trash begins on land. So just getting rid of trash in our natural resource areas is going to make a huge difference and create a positive impact.
Yeah, and that's something I think you're probably going to hear me repeat this several times during the show today. You don't have to do the project on water. There's water somewhere near you, and the law of averages says that a lot of trash, that's where it's going to end up. That's what the data shows, is that it eventually blows into a creek or a river or a stream, or if you live by a lake or an ocean, so much trash ends up there. It's just the way it works. So a Scouting for Clean Waterways project, even if you don't live right next to the water, chances are you're removing trash, and particularly plastics, that could end up in water. So that's really cool, and a great way to make sure that Scouting for Clean Waterways is an opportunity for everyone, not just those who happen to live next to a lake or an ocean or something like that. Let's talk a little bit more about partnering with your other people in your community. There's a good chance that in your city or county or whatever, there are already Earth Day themed type activities going on, like Lisa mentioned. Talk about that, Scott, and maybe some of the advantages of working with an organization like that.
Yeah, there are tons of these kind of cleanup projects that are being organized by watershed protection organizations, by natural resource affinity groups, things like Keep Our Park Healthy organizations. All of these schedule routine cleanups, usually one in the spring and one in the fall. So you don't necessarily have to do any of the planning. If you have an idea that you might be able to provide 10 scouts Saturday morning to help that group achieve their goals, reach out to them and let them know that you'll be coming, and they'd be more than happy to accept scouts as part of their team to help do the cleanup. And a lot of times what that means is they're going to provide all the resources needed. So the garbage bags and the instruction and work gloves and that kind of stuff in order to deliver the program. But you should follow through and ask those kind of questions just to make sure that you're meeting the expectations of the group. Generally speaking, this is an ideal time for all of those organizations to get a boost from scouting coming out and helping them with cleaning up our natural resources. So it's a big win for them. It's a win for Scouts BSA, and certainly a win for the environment.
Yeah, as a former Cub Scout leader, Scott, I can attest to the fact that community organizations love to hear from Scout volunteers. They love the idea of partnering with you, with your unit. Not only do you provide manpower or foot power, right? But we're also teaching a new generation about the importance of sustainability and conservation and things like that. So it's really a win-win situation for everyone. Rob in the comments, shout out to Rob, who says, sounds like a great program. We got Marilou watching from PAC 78. Very, very cool. Rusty says hello from PAC 84 in New Philadelphia, Ohio. We got some Cub Scout leaders watching Troop Talk. Love that. Let's talk about, Scott, we said that it's not a requirement, but can Scouts earn some sort of, merit badge requirements? Can they satisfy some rank requirements? Could a Scouting for Clean Waterways, in a sense, also count as a requirement in some other aspect of the program?
Well, throughout the Scouts BSA program, there are service hour requirements. And we certainly see that in our rank advancement from tenderfoot through life. And in many merit badges will ask for a service project. I think the Athletics Action Award requires a service project. There are plenty of little award systems that require some degree of a service element. And the Conservation Good Turn Award is an award you can earn by completing a Scouting for Clean Waterways project. So there is many things in scouting that this will relate to. With respect to rank advancement, this is something that your Scoutmaster, you should have a conversation with them to say that we're looking to do 2 hours at such and such park to do a Scouting for Clean Waterways. Will that count for our service requirements for our rank advancement? And let the Scoutmaster guide the Scouts on what they think is appropriate. Certainly life has that requirement of doing conservation service as part of the rank advancement. a cleanup project may not be quite what the Scoutmaster thinks is the right fit. So the Scoutmasters have the ability to lead the Scouts in the correct way there.
Good, good. Excellent advice. You mentioned a little bit, oh, by the way, Mary Lou in the comments says they work with a local organization called Foothill Conservancy. Very, very cool. Like I said, there's local organizations, I guarantee you, in your community who would love to hear from you if they haven't already. Scott, you mentioned earlier our friends over at Scout Book have just recently created the ability to log scouting for clean waterways, particular under service hours, including the number of pounds of trash that you pick up, and including, even separate from that, the amount of plastic that you pick up. Talk about that. Why is it important? Why are we encouraging folks to log their service in Scout Book?
Well, part of this, of course, is the desire of the national organization to be able to demonstrate to all of our partners the value of scouting to our country. So just the big picture is huge. If Brian could share again, I'd just like to tell you a little bit of where we make a difference. Next slide. And here is the Scout Book reporting as of 4/21/24. And this is the amount of projects that were reported. So there's 204 Scouting for Clean Waterways projects reported. Over 10,000 pounds of non-plastic waste was reported and collected. 4,000 pounds of plastic waste was collected. Total was 14,000 pounds of trash collected. That's huge. And we're just getting started. And as this program rolls out, now, this is the first year of the program. People are just hearing about it, so they haven't necessarily had time to schedule or put it in their Scout calendar. But think of how this is going to grow. And as a yearly activity, like Scouting for Food, what an impact we're going to have. And Scout Book is going to be able to give us that information about how many hours were donated to Scouting for Clean Waterways, how many pounds of rubbish were removed, how much of that was plastic. All of this gets reported both to our National Executive Board and to our marketing department to help share and build our partnerships, but also gets reported to Clean Water Hub. And let me tell you about Clean Hub, because they've agreed to match pound for pound the rubbish that we collect. So that 14,000 pounds of waste that we have removed from the environment will be matched by Clean Hub, by them taking 14,000 pounds out of the environment as well. So every pound that we remove, they're going to match pound for pound and pay to have that removed. So that is a huge contribution by one of our valued partners there, and hopefully demonstrates the value of Scout Book reporting. Now, Scout Book reporting can be complicated, but there is a video and a whole instruction that is provided on the Scouting for Clean Waterways website. You can go to that link, and on that webpage, you can actually find a place there where it'll explain the details of reporting on Scout Book, because this is the first time we've done this. And now it's not just Scouting for Clean Waterways, it's also for Scouting for Food and for Messengers of Peace. All of those service hours and service components can be recorded.
Yep. Thanks for mentioning that for sure, Scott. Our valued partners at Clean Hub, we definitely appreciate what they're doing by matching the amount of pounds of plastic removed. And just so everyone knows, we also did a blog post recently on the ability to enter those hours into Scout Book. So if you go to Aaron on Scouting and search for Scouting for Clean Waterways, you'll find a handful of stories about the program, including one about Scout Book. Very, very cool. Scott, this seems like to me a program where we could invite Scouts BSA members, could invite family members, non-Scouts, parents, siblings, things like that. Am I right or wrong on that? And if so, Scott, what do we need to know about the possibility of making this like a family event?
Absolutely. And it is designed to be as open as the scouting unit would like to make it. So it might be, can you bring a friend along? Or it might be, can you invite your whole family to come join us as we together do this Scouting for Clean Waterways project? The more people that we engage from our families and from our communities, the greater it looks to our community and the impact that we're going to have and be able to demonstrate. And that is critically important at this time when we're trying to rebuild our brand and just demonstrate to the country the value of scouting.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. You mentioned that page. I don't know if it's too much trouble for behind the scenes, Brian, to throw it up again. When you talk about planning for a Scouting for Clean Waterways project, I think you mentioned on the web that there is information about the step-by-step that they can go through to plan a project. Can we talk about that in a little more detail? Yeah, how to run a Scouting for Clean Waterways service project. What do the folks need to know, a little more detail if we could, about planning a project? And let's also be sure and mention, Scott, safety considerations, right? Being around water, handling trash, things like that. What do the folks need to know?
Yeah, sure. So it's not hard. Aaron and I had a conversation a while back, so it's not rocket science. We're going out there with a trash bag and picking up trash. But cleanup projects can be held anywhere there's a need. So if you happen to be in your park and you happen to see that there's some windblown rubbish around the tree line there, clearly a need. Our waterways and the areas around them, our parks, our recreational areas are all ideal locations for Scouting for Clean Waterways service projects. And remember that trash on land will frequently become aquatic trash. Scouting for Clean Waterways service projects should probably last for Scout age youth between 2 and 4 hours. A little bit less for the Cub Scout audience, or if you are bringing family members along, be conscious of that the younger they are, the shorter that attention span might be. But there's also ways to make family games and activities out of these things that might be engaging to younger family members that might be joining us. Scouting units can organize this service project completely on their own, or they may partner with one of the many organizations that are running similar events. If you're planning it on your own, there's a few things you need to do. And you need to be very clear about the expectations. You want to be able to give clear communications about working together, keeping the buddy system happening, making sure everybody knows the boundaries that we're going to be cleaning up, so we don't have people wandering into areas that are not part of the scope of the project. You want to make sure you have all the necessary materials that are needed. So how many plastic bags will be required in order to collect the estimated amount of garbage that you have identified, as well as properly sorting them for disposal afterwards. And then having a plan in place as to where you're going to dispose those items. And that's a key element. It's one thing to do a big, huge cleanup and you end up with 30 bags of trash. You have to have a place to dispose of them after the fact. Now, many parks, if you're doing a program in a park, will arrange that for you, or a private company might allow you to put it in their dumpster or their disposal system. The community that you're working for, the township, may have a plan that you could utilize. I know a cleanup was part of my son's Eagle project many, many moons ago. And the township simply said, everything gets put here. It has to be sorted this way. And then they came by and collected all that. So there are, depending on where you're at and what the rules and regulations are in the communities that you serve, could create a whole different scenario. So having that plan worked out, how are we going to dispose of the collected trash, is vitally important. After you have executed the event and you've all had a great time and everything else, make sure you recognize their accomplishments. There will be, the patches is available if you'd like to give people patches for participating. There will be certificates available on the website. They have not arrived yet. We're promised it hopefully by the end of the week, and that'll be attached to Scout Book. So after you've completed your thing, you'll be given the opportunity to download certificates that could all be presented. And then you're going to want to share that story. You want to make sure you tell everybody what great work your Scouts did. And we're talking about social media outlets. We're talking about community media publications, and also with your local council. Make sure your council knows the great work that your Scouts did. for a Scouting for Clean Waterways project. And then lastly, there's the opportunity to share that science. You can actually share the information that you have on poundage removed and that stuff as part of the Clean Water Hub. Has a link there. It's actually through NOAA, the Marine Debris Program, and they have an app that you can download and enter data. That would be a great way of contributing to citizen science in the collection of rubbish. Now, you did ask about safety, so I want to take just a minute to spend a little bit of time on some of the safety concerns about a Scouting for Clean Waterway project. So it's important that you follow the boundaries, that we know where we're cleaning up, and this includes the details on any water entry. So this was not designed to be a water-based activity. It was designed to be around the water or on the sidelines of the water, and there may be, or you may identify the need to actually clean rubbish out of the water. If you do so, it is critically important that you follow the guidelines of safe scouting in safe swim defense and safety afloat if there's any water entry involved. So if you're staying on the sidelines, that's not a concern. If there's going to be entry into the waterway by wading, swimming, or boating, in order to achieve your goals, you must follow the principles as defined in safe scouting. So please be mindful of that. Second would be the review of the procedures for removing dangerous and sharp materials. So shards of glass, broken window panes, metal strips, all of these things can be very dangerous to handle. And depending on the type of work gloves you might be using, it might be best that they be left alone, or that an adult leader be assigned the task of dealing with those sharp objects. But you need to have clear-cut instructions to your scouts on what to do when they come across objects that are physically dangerous to them. Heavy items. It's not unusual to come up and find enormous heavy items that you just can't remove.
Yep.
And you'll need to come up with procedures for that. Generally speaking, your best option typically is to leave it in place and let the land manager know where you've identified something and that it should be removed. But it is not something that the scouts should take time to try to do. Concentrate on the stuff that is manageable and that can fit into your garbage bags and remove that waste. And then lastly is hazardous materials. So it is not impossible, particularly if you're dealing with coastal areas, to come across medical waste. Things like syringes or other medical waste could be washed up to shore, that kind of stuff. Medical waste should not be handled by anyone. So anyone in scouting should not be handling any of medical waste that they identify. Instead, contact your city's household hazardous waste department and arrange for its removal. So your best bet is to log it, identify where it's at, and then report it to the proper authorities for them to come and remove. This is not something that scouts should handle. The last little safety caution I would like to give you is with respect to working with outside organizations. We must be very mindful of our youth protection procedures, and this applies at all times whenever scouts are involved. And, it is critically important that we maintain that buddy system, that we maintain the barriers of abuse as identified in our youth protection protocols, and that we inform those organizations that we're partnering with how we're going to operate, and no exceptions can be made. So that's just the last little guidance there with respect to our youth protection expectations when working with outside organizations.
Yeah, excellent reminder, Scott. We're talking about Scouting for Clean Waterways right now because officially, April, this is when the program launched. Yesterday was Earth Day. Some folks consider this to be Earth Week or April to be Earth Month. So April is a great time to do a Scouting for Clean Waterways project. But Scott, let's just say that there is a Scouts BSA unit out there who's just now hearing about it. What time of year can they do a Scouting for Clean Waterways project?
These can be done anytime. So this is not something that has to be done right away or during the month of April. Scouting for Clean Waterways can be held anytime and anytime you've identified a need. So scheduling an activity between April and June, such as Earth Day activity or a Scouts the Trash Day activity, are the most popular options, but they're not the only options. So finding the rubbish and making a decision to do something about it on your schedule is exactly the right time to do that activity.
Excellent, excellent. We are winding down our discussion with Scott Anderson, talking about scouting for clean waterways. Just a couple more questions for you, sir. What about conducting a scouting for clean waterways project that is sort of open to the public and maybe could be used as a recruiting event? We've had some folks mention that they've done that before. Any thoughts on that? And is that a possibility? Is that a good thing?
Oh, it's an excellent thing, and it's actually an ideal opportunity. You know, we look at what are the activities that might inspire community members to come and participate with us. And if you imagine a middle school or a high school and saying that troop so-and-so is going to be holding a cleanup at such and such park at 8 o'clock, please come and join us. You're going to get quite a few people that are going to come and join you and participate with the cleanup. During that time, you're going to have the opportunity to just demonstrate what scouting is all about, and demonstrating through community service and with the participating families can provide a great opportunity to give an overview of what the scouting program is, and then potentially gain membership from that. So yes, I definitely think Scouting for Clean Waterways projects can be an excellent recruiting opportunity. And you don't have to force fit this. Let them come and participate and just enjoy a scouting activity and see what we're about. And then we get to tell our story whenever it's convenient afterwards.
Yes, very, very great. I love that idea. Scott, one final question for you. We've addressed this briefly, but I just want to be clear. Not everybody lives next to the water. It's called Scouting for Clean Waterways. Do you have to do it on the water?
Of course not. And again, that 80% of all that aquatic trash begins on land, sometimes far away. And can you play around with those slides and find that slide again?
I bet Brian can find it. We're going to put him on the spot. Yeah, there's a slide where it talks about the percentage of trash that begins on land. Yeah, there you go. It's about to come up right now. There it is.
You know, so even, cities that are far away from water resources, that majestic plastic bag can just blow and blow and blow until it finds its way to a water resource and ends up then eventually in the great garbage patch out to sea. So that's a wonderful movie. If you have any interest in just enjoying a little bit of what this is all about, it's called The Majestic Plastic Bag, and you can look it up on YouTube. But it tells the fun story about how this plastic bag finds its way to the great plastic patch in the sea.
Yep.
But yes, aquatic trash begins on land oftentimes. And so going to your local park and doing a plastic cleanup or a trash pickup is going to help the environment. And that will transition to helping our waterways stay clean, reducing those microplastic particles. Every bit of trash that we remove from the ecosystem is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a good chance that your Scouts BSA troop is already doing some kind of project that could count as a Scouting for Clean Waterways project. And there may just be a couple of things you can do additionally among those reporting it in Scout Book that would make it an official Scouting for Clean Waterways project. Christine says, thank you for including ground cleanups. You're welcome, Christine. Of course, ground cleanups are just as important as every other kind of cleanup. Scott, as always, you have come with a bountiful amount of knowledge. We appreciate you sharing it with us. Anything else we need to let the viewers know about Scouting for Clean Waterways before we let you go?
No. Brian, if you can pull up that last slide that just, it does give you the website. And if you have additional questions, you can reach out to us. Outdoor programs at scouting.org or Clean Water Scouts at scouting.org, and we'll be happy to respond to you. You can look for us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group where scouting units are telling us the stories of their cleanups. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time in scouting, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
Well, we are thrilled to have you on, Scott, to talk to us. Everybody, let's get out there and pick up some trash, right? Let's get some of that plastic off the ground, out of our water, and somewhere safe where it belongs, so it doesn't end up as microplastics in our brains. That's still such a weird thing to think about, right? But Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great. Thank you all. Yep, thank you all for watching at home. We'll see you next month on another episode of Troop Talk Live. Bye, everybody.